Like the way that I tend to look at it is, we hardly ever question it whenever someone gives us negative feedback, right? Like if someone tells you you sucked at this, you're probably going to internalize it and be like, yeah, I
Yes. Yeah,
really
I
did.
really
I really
did. Yeah.
sucked at this, right?
What does it take to find your authentic voice in leadership? And why do we often latch onto the negative things people say about us while ignoring the positive? Welcome to the Leadership Story. I'm Lisa Jones. In this episode, I'm joined by April Renner, whose path from finding her career in financial investments to leading a resilience program in construction is inspiring. And honestly, after talking with her, I am convinced April feels like a kindred spirit to me. Let's dive in. So I am really excited today because this conversation that we're going to have, we're going to talk about something that many women struggle with, and that's finding an authentic voice, navigating in unfamiliar spaces, meanwhile building a career when life is throwing you curveballs. So today, joining me is April Renner. Now, April is a business continuity manager at Burns and McDonnell in Kansas City, where she is building an enterprise resilience program and team consisting of business continuity, crisis management, and disaster recovery. Now, prior to joining Burns and McDonnell, April worked at American Century Investments for 23 years, where she managed a team with oversight of business continuity, disaster recovery, crisis management, and cybersecurity governance, risk, and compliance. So April has worked in the resilience field for nearly 15 years, and she holds a master business continuity professional certification as well as a certified cyber resilience professional certification from the Disaster Recovery Institute International. Now, on a personal note, April is a mom of a 10-year-old George, and she has the cutest dog, Coco. And living in Kansas City, she is a huge Swiftie and a Chiefs fan, which we'll talk about a little bit more. So, April, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
I am so excited. So I just want you to know that after connecting with you at a conference recently, and I had the goal of finding people that I wanted to be on the podcast. So when I met you, I was like, she is going to be on this podcast. I don't know what I'm going to have to do, but I'm definitely want her here. So I'm so excited for this conversation. And I'm so excited to dive into what we want to talk about. But before that, being a big Chiefs fan and me being an Eagles fan, I'm curious to know, how are you feeling about the season for the Chiefs?
I'm feeling great about this season and I'm also really excited to be here. So I will throw that out there as well. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited for this season. I think that it gets really easy to see maybe not the greatest start and assume that, oh no, the whole season's blown. But one thing we know about our Chiefs is they are comeback kings. And so I'm really excited to watch us kill it the whole rest of the season because I'm sure that's what's going to happen. And then, I've mentioned to you before, I'm actually not an Eagles fan.
Yes.
So I am perfectly happy if they would like to take the number 2 spot for the season.
It's okay. We'll take it, but we'll see what happens at the end of the year. It's funny because not only we're connected, between our, we went through the Super Bowl together, Eagles, Chiefs, but Taylor Swift is a PA native, so we try to claim her, even though she's marrying somebody on the team. But I digress.
We can share her. We can share her and the Kelseys. We'll just take them all.
I appreciate that. Thank you. So let me shift gears and dive right in. So you spent almost 23 years with American Century Investments, and right out of college or high school, you said. And so that's practically a whole career for most people, 23 years at one organization, especially out of high school, the fact that you stayed there and didn't switch to numerous jobs. So now you're into this space of construction. So can you talk about, what's it been like finding your authentic voice between these two environments?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting leap to have made. It's not the world's most common career path for sure. But one thing that the two kind of industries and companies have in common that I've been able to navigate is that I'm pretty much never the smartest person in any room between either institution. And so I've been very fortunate to have a lot of leaders over the course of my career, that have helped shape my authentic leadership voice,
Mhm.
and so I've really relied very heavily on mentors, especially because when you look at both industries, they're very male dominated, right? So finance, very male dominated, then coming into engineering, architecture, construction. And so finding my own voice was very much a challenge, but I was very lucky to have a lot of mentors that could help me do that. And I just really kind of have based it all on that concept of authenticity. Like you mentioned, I started at American Century right out of high school. I was changing addresses. It was just kind of a job that I took. I had no idea if it was going to actually turn into a career or not. And it was the guidance of a lot of those mentors that really helped me move up through the organization and then step into a leadership role and really try to be successful in an entirely different skill set because leadership is very different than being an individual contributor. So relying on those mentors has been really valuable for me.
Yeah, and it's interesting that or it dovetails so easily into business continuity because we have to speak to people that know so much more than we do, and to be able to get information and, build that connection and respect is hard, and I would think for you or if you can talk about it more, being in spaces, particularly male-dominated spaces, when you're probably the only woman, the question that I have is twofold. Like, how do you navigate that? And what were your mentors and allies doing to help you navigate through those spaces?
Well, it's really kind of situational, but the way that I tend to navigate it is to show up and ask a lot of questions. I really lean into the idea that I don't have to be an expert in everything. I just have to be really curious and I have to know who to talk to. And so the way that I approach that level of kind of that wall, I guess, that's there of in many cases at American Century, I was also one of the younger people in the room for the first part of my career, which is its own challenge, right? And then moving into kind of the more male dominated sides, it's really just go and ask questions, be respectful to the fact that you're not the smartest person in the room, but don't use that as a reason to not speak up, right? Like everybody has something to bring to the table. Everybody has their best self that they can bring to the table. In those capacities, it really, the fact that I'm not an expert in finance by itself and in IT by itself and in engineering and construction by itself doesn't mean that I don't have anything to contribute. And so my mentors along the way have been really phenomenal people who have helped me learn how to show up for myself and have helped me use my personality traits that come naturally to me in an effective way. One of those being my curiosity. And so I'm very curious about everything. I'm very interested in everything. And so I'm able to step into a room and even if somebody's looking at me like, who is this dumb chick? Why is she here? Right? I'm very quickly asking really good questions. I'm very quickly trying to understand their world, and I'm not trying to take anything from them. And I think that that is always a message that people are receptive to. Like, I'm here to learn from you. I'm here to understand what it is that you bring to the organization. And then throughout the conversation, I'm going to be showing you what I'm bringing to the organization as well.
I feel like we are sisters from another mister because I also had that similar all the things that you just said. I was probably the youngest, usually the only woman, and talking to people that if I understood what some of the acronyms meant, then it was a good day. So I totally understand, still being able to bring some presence as well as you don't want to disrespect people, but you also know that you need to get this information or build that rapport with people that may, for the first time, if they never had to talk to you at all, and not having that title of being a leader. So I'm curious between working in finances and construction, and I know you said there were some similarities, but when you move from being in a place where you were for 23 years and very used to and understanding the language and culture, how did you make that shift to construction? And what are some of the things that you had to take on additionally in your leadership skill or posture that you had to adopt? Or was it fairly similar? You just had to socialize it to the next group.
I think culturally, the two companies are actually surprisingly similar, right? So both companies really have a heavy focus on a positive culture for employees, for showing up for employees, for being able to invest in and develop skills. Like there's very rarely been a time in my career where I've said, I want to go learn this, and the answer was no. And so I think both companies have been very open to continuing education, to development. So that's where some of the similarities are. I will freely admit to you that I was absolutely petrified to change careers. Um, I was at American Century for so long. I was happy there for so long, loved the company, loved the people, and it really was just a practical decision to leave. I kind of sat back and said, okay, I've worked here since I was 19 years old. Am I really going to stay at the same company from 19 to 60 or
Yeah.
65 whenever it's time to retire? And the answer to that was probably not, right?
Hmm.
Like at some point in my professional career, I would like to experience something different. And so I really just dipped a toe into the job market. I didn't even jump fully in. I was just dipping a toe in to see what's out there. And I found this other, also headquartered in Kansas City, really great culture company that everybody that I have ever met who works here loves it. So maybe this would be a good fit for me. So I just threw my name in a hat for a job. As I talked to the leaders through the interview process, it really kind of made me feel like if I'm going to make such a huge change, this might be the right place to land because it
Nice.
feels like another company that invests in its people, cares about its people. Everyone that I met seemed to really like it here. I had friends who worked here, never really heard them say anything negative beyond all your, like little
Right.
small gripes. And so it was really a great move for me. It was definitely a challenge, and probably the biggest lesson that I took away from the switch was you just have to get over the fear of asking dumb questions. You just have to lean into it and say, "You know what? I'm gonna seize this opportunity. I have this little window of time when I'm brand new to learn as much as I can, meet as many people as I can, get in front of as many business units as I can while I'm rolling out this program." And really just kind of dive into it open arms and say, "What can I learn from you all? What can I learn about this industry?" And everybody has been super receptive to that. It's kind of been amazing, especially considering the difference in regulation between finance and engineering, architecture, construction. It's very, very different. So at American Century, I was a compliance item, right? I
Okay.
was very much a necessity for
Yeah.
doing
A
business.
check the
And
box kind of thing.
yeah, exactly. And we did go beyond that. We had a very robust program, but at its core, we had to be there. And that's not necessarily the case here, but yet I still find that receptiveness and that openness to the work that I'm really happy that I found.
That is great, and that is not always the norm, that you can make that shift and still be able to get over that fear. I think that's the one thing that holds many of us back is the fear of trying something different and new, because that comfortability is what holds us. It may not be the best place, or you get so comfortable that you say, I'm just going to ride this out. And so I appreciate the fact that you were able to step out, dip your toe, as you say, and land somewhere that is just as good or better than where you were before. Because yeah. So yeah, I love that. I love that a lot. So you talked about how you bring your curiosity to leadership. What are some of the other traits that you rely on in leading people?
This is a great question. I really try my hardest to lead with compassion. I think it's really, really important to understand that we're all just people, right? Like we're all just people. We have things going on in our personal lives. We have other professional endeavors and goals that we want to accomplish. We have an entire lifetime to live, and I'm here for a short period of someone else's. And so I really want to leave them with a positive impression. I really believe in providing honest, actionable, and kind feedback. I think that that's really important. And so for me, that has been my greatest leadership takeaways from both companies and also how I wanna show up every day, and I show up that way whether I've been here 2 years or 23 years,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, it's my leadership story too, right? And so,
Yeah.
I want there to be continuity in my leadership. I would expect that if you talk to someone that I led at American Century and then someone that you're leading today, the core values of how I engaged with all of them are the same,
Yeah.
right? I may have had impact on someone's life, one person versus another, depending on what their performance was like and what kinds of conversations we were having. But I want their kind of receptiveness of me to be the same. I want them to feel like they had me genuinely, that I care about them, that I care about their lives, that I care about their professional development and their personal development. I care about who their kids are or if their parent is sick. All of those things. I just feel like we have such an opportunity to affect each other's lives. And these are people that I may not have ever met if it hadn't been through work, and so I would like for their experiences with me to be mostly positive. Sometimes there's a little bit
Yeah.
of friction whenever someone's your leader, right? But at the same time, you're gonna get April, even if it's April who's having to provide you some difficult feedback or some course
Yeah.
correction.
I get, and that is so important because I think when we think about our professional and personal lives, we try to separate the two. And for me, and it sounds like for you, is that you want to be authentic in both of those spaces. And also, to me, I feel like it's almost hard to separate the two, especially you're with these people every day. We try to say, separate your personal life from your professional life, and to a certain extent you can, and there are certain things that you don't want to, muddy the waters. But overall, I mean, I'm spending most of my life with these people all day. How can I not try to at least build relationships that mean something, as well as be able to lead people, because when people care about you. I heard this great quote, and I don't know if you were in the room when Major Flowers was speaking at the conference, and he said, "People will take care of you. It's a matter of how you treat them. If you treat them good, they're going to take care of you the way you would want them to. And if you treat them awful, they're going to take care of you, maybe not the way you want them to." So I've taken that to heart. I mean, I've always tried to do that, but he really he put a great spin on that, to understand that, the way I treat, with the way the world sees me, it's going to be a reaction. So what is that reaction you want people to see?
Absolutely. I unfortunately missed that part of the presentation, but I heard such wonderful things about it. And I just think that this concept of work-life balance that gets kind of thrown around and has been thrown around for years, I take a little bit of a different spin on it because we are in an industry, the resilience industry specifically, where you might have to call me at 2 o'clock in the morning because something happened across the globe, right? Not all of our events and all of our responses happen, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 Central Time, right? So since I know that I may have to get up and show up at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, then I feel like it's more of a work-life integration that
Yep.
it is a work-life balance, right? Because if I'm balancing that, that's never gonna balance out completely. Like, I'm always gonna be bringing some of my home stuff to work, and I'm always gonna be bringing some of my work stuff home. And so for me, it's much more of an integration, and I want people who work for me and who work with me to feel the same way. Like, they
Yeah.
can come to me and say, I'm so sorry my kid is sick today. I need to work from home." And I'm like, "I don't need you to apologize for that.
Yeah.
You get to be who you are, your whole self. I have high standards for delivery. I have high standards for productivity, all of those things, but there's a kind of an innate trust there that I wanna lead with. that
Yeah.
says, I know that if I give you that freedom to say, oh, I've got to work from home today because I need to be home with my sick kid. And that means that I might need to reschedule a meeting or two, that sort of thing. I know that the next time you're in the office, you're going to be showing up even stronger because
Right.
there's such an element of care and feeding that goes into leadership that I really think is kind of emerging even or emerging again maybe
Yeah.
after COVID because COVID kinda forced us to confront the fact that we're all just people, right? And when we're all working from home and our kids are running around crazy in the background or our dogs are barking when a package is delivered and all of that, it really did kind of open the door to a little bit more of an understanding and care for the fact that we're all unique individuals. And so that concept of, oh, you leave home at home and you leave work at work is just we're all just so integrated now that I don't really feel like that's a reasonable expectation any longer. And so, how can we show up for each other and be a community for each other while still respecting those kind of, well, you do still
Yeah.
have to get your work done, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But what I found is most people just show up really they wanna do a good job,
Yeah.
and they wanna be empowered to do a good job, and they wanna be cared about to do a good job, so letting someone stay home because they have a sick kid doesn't mean they're just gonna start, internalizing that I don't have to work anymore. They
Right.
still wanna show up and do a good job. It doesn't negatively affect the work.
Agreed. And, yes, COVID had the two worlds collide. And also, COVID showed that, just because I'm in the office didn't mean I was doing more work or less. Actually, I felt like
Absolutely.
going into the office, I was actually doing less work. And I realized when during COVID, I was getting things done. And no offense, I love being with people because I'm a social person, but I also know that you know, when I was in the office, I was doing less work. Let's just be honest. We were talking, we were, being it was all the things. And I think from a leadership perspective, many leaders struggled with that because they wanted to see their people and didn't know how to make that adjustment of this is different. But I think great leaders were the ones that were able to get through that and understand that you don't have to micromanage people to get the work done as long as they're getting the work done and you just have to show some care. Yeah, I totally agree. So I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about a couple of some of your personal struggles that or things you had to balance. And one of the things that we both had in common was going back to school and finishing. It's funny, I started school when I was a teenager, obviously didn't finish, and then came a married working mom and had to go back to school. So how did you balance that? Because I know it was a struggle for me. So how did you balance getting back to school and going back for your degree? And also, as a side note, you did organizational communications. I did organizational leadership. I'm telling you, we were switched at birth. I'm trying to figure this
We
out.
were, yes, we were meant to meet,
Yes,
right? All of the things that happened in the universe to put us in the
exactly.
same space at the same time. Oh, and how lucky, right? It's such an interesting thing for me to talk about because I don't see my leadership journey reflected in that many people, and that's probably just the nature of the work that I've been in. A lot of the positions require you to have gone to school to learn a certain thing,
Yes.
right? So, I'm not gonna find as many engineers probably with the same story that I have, and that's okay, like, everybody's journey, is valid, but like I mentioned, I started at American Century at 19, and that's not because I was a prodigy who had her college degree by 19. It was because I was out of school at that point. I had gone straight into community college after high school, and I didn't find it very stimulating. I didn't find it all that interesting, and then I decided that I didn't like it enough to continue on,
Hmm.
and so I stopped going. I started this job at American Century. I was like, "Oh, I make enough money. Do I need a degree?" And then I decided I wanted one, whether I needed it or not. So I went back to college and I had I don't know the right phrase for it, but I had sort of educational ADHD, for lack of a better term. I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
That's where having a curious personality really
Yeah.
comes along and kinda bites you,
Yeah.
because everything sounds like fun. So, I mean, in my college career, I was a nursing major, I was a science major, I was an English major, I was a psychology major. I just changed all the time. So if you look at my transcripts, it's bananas how many different different credits I have. I actually did complete one degree and became a licensed massage therapist for a while. I had
Okay.
an associate's degree in that. And then I was like, well, that's not getting me anywhere at American Century, right?
And I can't say it is.
No, no, not doesn't really translate. But it was just fun. I love to learn, like I mentioned earlier. And so I went back to school, and American Century had just a wonderful tuition reimbursement program. And so I was going to do a business degree. I had decided on that. And then I ran face first into accounting and realized that is, to put it very casually, not my jam at
Not your
all.
jam. No.
And I did not wanna do accounting too, so I said, "Okay, what are my strengths? What are the
Yeah.
things that I really enjoy?" And my strengths have always sort of revolved around writing, communicating, engaging with people, development,
Yeah.
and so organizational communication was where I landed,
Wow.
and also because it didn't require accounting too. So, it's a Bachelor of Arts instead of a Bachelor of Science, but it really got me into this world of how to effectively communicate with people and how to meet them where they're at and how to read your audience, learn how to tailor your message to varying audiences. How do I communicate up versus communicating out versus even communicating down in an organizational hierarchy? And then I decided to minor in leadership because one of the things that I have always heard my whole life was that I'm a natural leader. And I'm like, well, cool. I should be making much more money than what I'm making then.
Well,
So,
that's a whole
you know,
nother conversation.
right? And so I did, when I landed on that as my degree, I was still working in the business at American Century. I had not made the pivot over to business continuity yet. And so I'm working in the business. I'm doing like one class per semester so that work continues to pay for it. And I'm really close to my degree. And then I got pregnant with my son, which was 2014.
Okay. That's literally when I think I started going back to school is 2014.
Oh, really? Oh, see, look at all the parallels. It's
Yes.
crazy. Um, so 2014 was when I was really hot and heavy in the degree. I was getting ready to graduate, but then I was pregnant with my son. And then while I was on mat leave, the corporate business continuity position opened up. And so I actually applied for the position while I was on maternity leave, went in and interviewed for it, and was offered that position. And so all at the same time in early 2015, I have a newborn and a brand new job in IT, which was not a department I ever thought I would be in,
Me
working
either.
with and for mostly men at the
Me
time at
either.
American Century. Our CTO was a woman, and she was wonderful, and I absolutely adored her, and she was a phenomenal mentor for me, but the rest of the leadership was primarily men,
Mhm.
and I was not a super technical person at the time, so I felt just completely like a fish out of water. Boss at the time who hired me on was just a phenomenal man. I still talk to him today. And he would just looked at me and he was like, "Wow, you are taking a big bite out of life right now." Right? Like trying to finish college, having to travel for work, having a newborn at home, all of these things. And so he was just tremendously supportive of me wrapping up that phase of my life. And I did graduate with my bachelor's degree. I think my son was 18 months old when I did, so
Wow.
it was right around 2016, if I remember correctly. But that's what happens when you go slowly, right? You don't know
Yes.
exactly when the
Correct.
journey
Me
ended.
neither.
Yeah, I was like online learning, all of those things. So
Yes.
I did graduate with my bachelor's degree. I was very excited for that. And then it was very quickly, okay, I got to figure out this job. I've got to
Yeah.
figure out, what my career path looks like from here.
Yeah.
And also, what does my motherhood journey look like from here?
Yes,
So it was a lot of
exactly.
change all at once, but it worked out really well, I think,
Yeah.
at least so far.
It seems like it. So far, so good, right?
Yeah. Well, and I really wanted the bachelor's degree because I knew as long as I stayed at American Century, it was fine, right?
Yeah.
Like I had been there enough years that I was going to be competitive for any job that I wanted to apply for there.
Yeah.
But I knew if I wanted to leave there, not having my bachelor's degree was going to do me a
Right.
disservice in the
Yes.
applicant pool.
Correct.
And so that was one of the main reasons that I wanted to pursue that, was just to keep my options open for the future.
Yeah. And now George is 10 years old. Oh my
He
goodness.
is. He's almost 11. It's
Almost
amazing.
11. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, he's phenomenal. He's so much fun.
So going back to, know, being able to build your career, being a mom, and at this time were you also going through some other personal challenges, and how did you deal with that? Because I know there's I know women are out there that have to deal with multiple things. What would you give like, what is the advice you would give to people or what are some of the things that helped you along the way? Because I and being able to show up at work. So you were pregnant, school, new job, the personal challenges. Let's dive more into that.
Yeah, so, I ended up getting divorced from George's dad in, 2018, and that was probably the most challenging time because that requires a lot of personal bandwidth and resources, right? Like, no ending of a marriage is easy. It makes you feel a certain way about
Yeah,
yourself, right? Like,
right.
it's very easy to internalize this as a failure.
Yes.
It's very easy to internalize this as, well, if my marriage is ending, maybe what other relationships am I, quote, "wrong" about,
Right. Yeah.
right? Like,
Yes.
it does just shake that kind of foundation of who am I? And if I failed, again in quotes, because,
Yeah.
it was absolutely the right decision for us. We co-parent very effectively now. So I don't wanna say that, that, "Oh, it was just the worst thing that could have ever happened," because
Yeah.
we've worked out into a very happy life at this point. But it was challenging, and the way that I really approached it, and every psychologist that hears this might tell me to shut up, but for me, I really took the feedback of the people around me that I respected
Yeah.
to heart. And so for me, it was, okay, even though I'm feeling like such an epic failure that my family is falling apart, right? But when I look at all of these people that I trust and respect and that I know are so smart and are such wonderful mentors to me, and they all believe in me and they all believe in my ability to do this work, to, know, meet any goal that I set for myself, to overcome challenges. Like, never once did any one of them express any doubt in me.
Yeah.
And so, in that moment where I was so vulnerable and so unable to kind of shore myself up, I was able to take that support from other people and reflect their view of me back onto my own self-image, right? And so it was like, well, if these people who are so brilliant and so good at this and so smart and just wonderful think that I am intelligent and
Yeah.
capable and smart, well, then maybe I need to just kind of lean on those impressions for a while. Take that feedback that you're getting every day when your boss puts trust in you, when someone else comes to you with a complicated issue and you're able to help them, or when someone says to you, "Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate that so much." You're getting, if you look for it, you're getting this feedback all the time that says you are worthy and you are valuable and you have something to contribute here. And so if you can't believe it in yourself because you're just experiencing this utter devastation
Yeah.
of your personal life, then maybe for a short period of time it's okay to just accept that from other people and try to believe in them. Maybe my own judgment of myself is clouded right now, but there's no reason why this whole leadership team full of people, their judgment's not clouded. So if they're still believing in me, then maybe I should believe in myself, even though I know that this one aspect of my life is not where I need it to be right now.
Okay, I gotta take a pause. Eh, that is first of all, that is enlightening that you could see that, and I'm sure at the time you probably couldn't. And I also feel, it's almost a part of that thing where we talk about imposter syndrome, which I hate that word, and I wanna do a whole presentation on that one because I can't stand it, but unfortunately it's true, that we think that we are fooling people or not seeing the goodness that people see in us. And we have to rely and trust that that people can see the goodness or see that we are capable. And I think it's brilliant that you were able to accept what those leaders were telling you, because that's another thing. We may not always accept what people say to us, which it are great things because how many times have you prime example, I can look in the mirror today and say, "Oh my god, my nose is too big, blah, 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 blah," and then someone else say, "Oh, you're beautiful, blah, blah, blah," and it's like, Yeah, but you don't really know.
Right. You don't really believe it, right?
Right,
And
right.
so, like, the way that I tend to look at it is, we hardly ever question it whenever someone gives us negative feedback,
No.
right? Like, if someone tells you, "You sucked at this," you're probably gonna internalize it and be like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
really
I
did.
really
I really
did.
sucked at this," right? And so for me, it was kinda like, well, if I'm willing to take on that negative opinion, why am I not willing to take on the
Yes.
positive that I hear from people?
Yes.
And so if someone tells me, "I think you're really great for this. I think you're the right person for this. I really trust in you to execute on this." Why am I not internalizing that too?
Yes.
Why am I so determined? Because 'Cause I'm the same way. If someone tells me anything positive about my parents, it's immediate. I'm just like, "Nah, that's not right," you know? But if someone said to me, "Oh, you got a lot of gray hair. You're looking old to be today." I'd be like, "Yeah, you know what? I do look old." So, why? I try to apply some logic to that because it's not a natural emotional place for me to go to
Yeah.
accept the positive and throw out the negative.
Yeah.
And so I have to kind of logic myself into it. I'm like, No one has any, it does not do my bosses any service at all to lie
Yeah.
to me about my performance. Because
Yes.
if I fall down in my performance, it makes them look bad. So
Correct.
obviously, if they're giving me positive feedback, they probably mean it
Yes.
because they don't want me to keep doing something that I suck at, right? So,
Correct. And they can
and that's
easily fire you. I mean, let's be
right.
honest.
Yeah. And so when I went into my boss at the time of my divorce and I told him, this is happening. My son was 2, almost 3 at the time. And I was like, this is happening and it's just going to shake up. Like, I can't travel for a while. I need to be here to be able to hammer out all of these details.
Mhm.
And it takes a while to get divorced. It's not like you just wake up today and say, oh, I'm done. We're done here. Right.
That's a
Like,
TV show.
there's a whole separate,
Yeah.
strategy that you have to
Yes.
employ and all of that. And so I went to my boss and I was like, hey, this is happening. And he just looked at me and said, what do you need? Do you need me to take you off of the on-call rotation?
Yeah.
Is there anything I can do for you? How can I show up for you? And I kid you not, I went home and cried. I was just like, this was the most amazing. I mean, if I'm being really honest, I probably went to my car and cried in the parking garage right after, but I'll pretend like I made it home
There you go.
first.
There you go.
But it really was such a compassionate reception of that message from my boss and such a clear understanding, even though he had never been divorced.
Yeah.
It was just such a clear understanding of you need to be a human right now and an employee second.
Yeah.
And so I've tried to kind of carry that mantle and just say, you're an employee. Yes, that matters, but you're a human being first. And so if you have a challenge that is going on that is literally shaking your entire foundation, I don't want to shake it up further.
Right.
I want to help you stabilize it. And so it was amazing. Like, my team member was like, do you need somewhere to stay? Like, how much chaos are we talking here? What can I help with? Right. And so having all of those people show up for me in such a powerful and meaningful way at such a vulnerable time was just, it was amazing. And if I ever have the opportunity to make such a positive impact on someone else's life in such a needy time, then I will absolutely do it.
Oh my goodness. I have one more other question because it just hit me. So, I how there's two things. One is that I guess it goes back to A, being authentic in your personal and professional life, dealing with being vulnerable as a woman leader. How do you navigate that? Because that was a very vulnerable time, and the fact that people were able to be receptive. Do you feel like you have to protect that, or you just know the space to be vulnerable?
Try really hard to find safe spaces, right? I mentioned being authentic, and I feel like being authentic is giving people access to some of the kind of softer, more vulnerable parts of you to build that trust. Every single time that I have confided in someone or that I have talked to them about my vulnerabilities, it is absolutely showing your throat and your belly to someone, right? Like,
Yes.
it is terrifying. And I just have to trust my instincts on that these are the right people for me to be confiding in and for me to be talking to and for me to be engaging with. And I've been very lucky that that has burned me very few times. But it's also remembering in your head that this relationship is transactional because it's a work relationship,
Mhm.
but that doesn't prevent you from building friendships or from trusting someone. So there have been leaders that I've had that I have not wanted to confide in, that I have not felt that level of trust with, but they are very few and far between. And so in those circumstances, I have sought out a separate mentor where I have said, okay, who can I utilize that I trust that I can talk to about these situations and they can guide me and advise me because I don't feel like I have that level of trust with my leader.
Right.
And so and I've been very lucky that has been very few and far between,
Yeah.
but it very much is a gut check, right? Like, how do I feel when I talk to this person? Do I feel like they're listening to me? Do I feel like they care about where I'm at? Or do they just want a job status report and go home,
Right.
right? And I don't necessarily think that either one of those approaches is really bad. I just think one of them is much more transactional.
Correct.
And you just have to be able to read that for what it is, and you can still learn something from those people. And sometimes what you learn is how not to be as a leader. Sometimes you learn what didn't feel right for
Correct.
you, and so you don't wanna perpetuate it with someone
Correct.
else.
Love
And
it.
so it's really kind of keeping that inventory in my head of I just put people in buckets, right? Like safe person, not safe person.
Yeah.
You know, trust person, not trustworthy. They're probably not the person that I should take my personal story to.
Yeah. And it also helps that you have a degree in communication, so you know how to navigate what to say to people.
Sometimes I just run off at the mouth and I'm like, "Oh
Listen.
boy, I blew
Yeah.
that one."
Woo. So I want to close this out and just end with the question. And I think I sent you this question, and hopefully you had a chance to ponder it. So when you think about, when you describe your leadership story, what is the one word that you would use and why?
So it's gonna sound very trite given the industry that I'm in, but my kind of core leadership term would be resilience. It would be when you are facing challenges, you have to find a way to roll with it. You have to find a way to make the best out of things. You have to find new approaches if the old approach isn't working. If one thing that worked with this employee isn't working with another employee, you've got to be flexible and resilient around that. And so for me, resilience is probably it's like my core foundation because there have been ups and downs in my life, and I feel like if you approach everything with this concept of, "I'm going to be okay. I'm gonna find a way
Yeah.
to make this work. I'm going to be resourceful, I'm going to be compassionate, and I'm going to be authentic," and that all kind of wraps up into, I feel like, being very resilient as a leader. If my projects go off the rails, I'm gonna find a way around it. If my employee's underperforming, I'm gonna do what I can to get them where I need to be. And I just try to have that faith in myself that I will be able to get through this, whatever it is.
My goodness. Well, April, thank you so much for this conversation. And I may have to have you back, because
Oh, I would
I
love that.
think we need a whole nother hour or so. Because we could, again, I swear we're sisters. Imma need to come to Kansas City. So
Yes!
let's talk about that more. Thank you so much, and I truly appreciate this conversation.
Thank you for having me. It was such a pleasure, and I'm so glad that we've had the opportunity to meet and get to know each other better. It's phenomenal. So anytime you wanna come up, we're going barbecue, we're going football, we're going Taylor Swift, we're doing it all.
Let's go. You can connect with April Renner on LinkedIn. The link is in the show notes. Tell her what resonated with you. I'd love to keep the dialogue going, so connect with me on LinkedIn or Substack at The Leadership Story, where we dig deeper, share exclusive insights, and build a real community of women leaders. And I want to hear from you. If you'd like to share your own leadership story on the podcast, or if there's someone you think I should interview, let me know. Your voice and your recommendations help shape this show. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you enjoyed today's show, please leave a review. It helps other women leaders find these conversations. I'm Lisa Jones, here to help you discover the leadership story you were meant to tell. I'll see you next time.